We're all addicted to technology, and frankly, it's not our fault. Just 20 years ago, only 15% of people access the internet on a daily basis. In 2025, as much as 94% of Americans use the internet every single day. Most Americans spend 7 hours or more in front of a screen, and we are seeing data come out that links prolonged screen time with negative mental and physical health. Technology addiction is rapidly rising, and many of us are wondering, how did we get here and why are we so addicted to our devices? Welcome. My name is Coleman, and this is my second YouTube video ever. I am in the process of writing a book called Techquilibrium that explores the link between mass tech addiction and the long term effects on outsourcing our humanness to technology. In an era where increasingly sophisticated and integrative technology is on the rise, it is more important than ever to be asking ourselves important questions like, where do we draw the line? In today's video, we are going to talk about the causes for, why we are also addicted to technology and how we can move forward having a better relationship with our devices. To begin, there are two things that we need to know about our tech behaviors. Number one, billions of dollars are being spent every single day by tech companies to keep you addicted to your device. And number two, you don't stand a fighting chance if you do not understand the mechanisms that they exploit to keep you continually engaged. This is not to sound conspiratorial, and this is not a secret. Every company everywhere uses principles of human psychology to motivate you to take action. Humane societies are a great example. They tap into our feelings of empathy and compassion to get you to not only adopt a furry friend, but to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on that pet over the course of its lifetime. Nonprofits and charities exploit our feelings or our sense of altruism to get you to donate to causes that you may never see or touch, or things that are completely intangible, like affecting climate change. These are not new tactics, and tech companies are not intentionally evil or malicious. And I don't think that people like Mark Zuckerberg are hell bent on destroying society as we know it, but they are strategic, and they do hire psychologists and user experience engineers who understand human psychology deeply to weaponize our natural tendencies to keep you hooked and keep you coming back for more. This is what I call engineered addiction. Engineered addiction is the deliberate design of technological products that exploit human psychology to bypass conscious willpower and leverage subconscious processes to cultivate an addictive style of habitual use patterns. Addiction at its core is a hijacking of the brain's reward system. When we experience something pleasurable, like getting new followers or likes on social media or new subscribers on YouTube, then our brain releases a chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is that feel good hormone that links a behavior with a positive outcome. Dopamine is also a key player in motivation. Our bodies like the dopamine rush, and so we are constantly chasing new ways of triggering that release of dopamine. The problem with the reward system, though, is that it releases dopamine based on what we think is pleasurable or what we associate with a positive outcome. And addictive substances and behaviors like technology exploit this by releasing large amounts of dopamine. Natural rewards like accomplishing a goal or stepping on the scale and losing 2 pounds, they trigger a spike in dopamine that, goes up and comes down pretty quickly. But addictive substances like drugs, for example, release surges of dopamine, and that tricks the brain into forming a really strong connection between that behavior and the dopamine release. And this is how addictive cycles are formed. This is exactly why we can so easily overconsume foods like potato chips and Oreos. If we think about our evolutionary biology, for most of human history, getting food was either very difficult or required lots of energy to do. Think taking down a woolly mammoth with a spear and some stones, not exactly a walk in the park. And so naturally, we sought foods that offered greater reward with less effort. And foods that are high in salt, sugar, and fat do just that. Food companies exploit this and they create these hyper palatable combinations of salt, sugar, and fat that make it next to impossible to resist. Now, I am not a licensed psychologist and I always defer to professionals in that field for specific addiction control and management. But what is important to understand from a practical perspective is that our brains are wired to trigger these reward systems, and tech companies are experts at triggering these wires. What this means, or what engineered addiction means, is that your devices are intentionally designed to be irresistibly engaging. Tech companies aren't just relying on the dopamine reward system. They are also experts at creating new products, tapping into something called the novelty trap. Humans are wired to want new things. As we experience a stimuli, the more familiar we become with it, the less interesting or engaging it becomes. As familiarity increases, dopamine decreases, and tech companies know this. This is why they're always coming out with new updates and new softwares, new technologies. This is why we come out with new music, new movies, new TV shows. The newness aspect of technology is part of what keeps you addicted to it. They create things that feel exciting at first, but over time that excitement wanes, and so they have to come up with something new so that you can get your next fix. And all of these gadgets and platforms and games, they are all designed to do one thing, which is to make your life easier. Humans default always to what is easy. The problem is, what is easy isn't always what is best. Our brains naturally default to the easiest or the most direct option. And as we outsource deeper and deeper parts of the human experience to technology, it becomes harder and harder to revert. Some technologies, like lighting and indoor plumbing, we probably should revert from, and deodorant. But current technology is going beyond solving elements of basic human comfort and can now affect biological functions. Technology can keep your heart pumping and your lungs inflating, and it can also fundamentally and completely change what you see, taste, and hear. We have technology like virtual reality headsets that completely change your experiential landscape. And we have things like earbuds that can translate what someone is saying in a different language directly into your ear in real time. These devices might seem clunky now, but so were computers when they first came out. And we're seeing an approach, or we're seeing a push for more streamlined, even wearable pieces of technology that fundamentally change how we interact with the world around us. It's also important to recognize that not everyone is equally susceptible to technology addiction. Mental health conditions like anxiety and depression can seriously increase your vulnerability to tech addiction. We may resort to binge watching or doom scrolling as a form of escapism to cope with the world around us, or turn to technology as a form of self soothing. And individuals with ADHD might be more susceptible to things like the novelty trap and more vulnerable to addictive tech behaviors. Your attachment style, whether you form anxious, avoidant, or secure bonds, can also influence your relationship with technology. Individuals that have predispositions towards an anxious attachment style might be more vulnerable to seeking forms of external validation through likes and comments and engagement on social media, and may feel more comfortable with texting interactions as opposed to face interactions. Those with avoidant attachment tendencies may struggle with self doubt, a fear of rejection, or even being able to form genuine connections, and they may result to doom scrolling or rabbit holing to reinforce their negative worldview. The thing about attachment styles is that it is a continuum, and we all have characteristics of them that manifest in different ways in our unique personalities. They are not moral shortcomings or personal failures, they are just a part of who you are and what makes you the beautiful person that you are. And understanding them helps us to inform our tech behaviors. Recognizing our personal vulnerabilities is half the battle, and by doing so, we put ourselves in a position to make conscious choices about our digital habits, like unfollowing people who make you feel bad about yourself or subscribing to YouTube channels that make you feel good about yourself. I want to take a moment and address this idea of use, misuse, and abuse. Sometimes patterns of misuse can be mislabeled as addiction, and it's also important to note that one person's misuse may be another person's addiction. Personal technology requires a personal approach. Healthy technology use is founded on balance and knowing how to carefully walk the line between autonomy and falling down the slippery slope. It also requires that you have tools to pull yourself up if you do fall into the pit of addictive behaviors, which we all do from time to time. And it's important to remember that technology has no inherent value. It is not good or evil. It is just a piece of equipment, and we are the ones that attach meaning or attach value to it. We are the ones that give a piece of plastic power over us or choose to retain our sense of self. Getting back to why we are so addicted to technology, we need to talk about a man that you might have heard of called B.F. Skinner. He was a 20th century psychologist who performed experiments on rats and pigeons as a study in human behavior. In one of his most famous studies, he tested out different reward structures or different reward schedules on rats, and he came up with something called variable reward systems. Variable rewards, he found, are a very powerful motivator for behavior. The anticipation of a reward is often enough to trigger a dopamine spike or induce a behavior. This is why we pick up our phones, because maybe we got a text or maybe we got a new notification. He found that rats in a variable reward structure, where they sometimes got a reward and sometimes didn't, showed significantly higher engagement. In his studies, the rats had to, I think, press a lever in order to receive a treat or order to receive a piece of food, and rats in these variable structures press the lever more persistently and more frequently. And this is exactly how, like, gambling works. For example, that's why people sit for hours and hours in front of slot machines in Vegas, because they just keep thinking that maybe next time will be the time they hit it big. And your phones are basically the most effective variable reward system ever invented. If you think about all of the different apps and your social medias on the phone, there are no shortage of ways. There are a myriad, if we're thinking good vocabulary, there are a myriad of ways that you can receive a variable reward, whether that is anticipating a new text or anticipating an email or likes, comments, whatever it may be. There is a plethora, ooh, another good word, a plethora of opportunities to receive a variable reward in your cell phones, and that's what keeps you coming back for more. You never know what you're going to get, and even the anticipation of having a new text, having a new call, feeling needed gives us that dopamine release, and it's why we keep reaching for the phone even when we don't know why. Many games and apps also gamify the user experience, offering points and badges and showing you leaderboards and streaks. And they might even send you notifications that remind you to not break your streak. Streaks, in particular, are very powerful motivators because they tap into another principle of human psychology called loss aversion, which is our disposition that we've put in effort to forming a streak and we don't want to lose it. So we keep coming back just so that we don't lose that perceived amount of cumulative effort. And streaks aren't necessarily a bad thing. In fact, they are a very powerful motivator for forming habits, and you can use them to form good habits. But understanding that this is how they keep you looped in allows us to better approach our relationship with apps that use things like streaks. If you spent any time studying social media, you've probably heard the word algorithm tossed around. Basically, all an algorithm is a computer program that puts things in front of you, if we're thinking about things like social media, that puts content in front of you that it thinks you want to see. Most apps like Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, they update their algorithms regularly, again, relating it back to that novelty trap so that it is constantly pushing new information or new pieces of content in front of your face. In the early days of social media, Facebook and Instagram showed you chronological feeds. They showed you a feed based on the time in which people you followed posted. However, as the user base grew and competition for attention became more and more pervasive, then they shifted to introducing early forms of algorithms that showed you content based on your engagement. The algorithms have shifted many times over the last years, and Instagram even recently updated their algorithm that in a way that allows you to control the algorithm. What I think is hilarious about this is that it is engineered addiction at its finest. It is giving you the illusion of choosing what you want to see when really it's just another way to keep you more addicted and checking Instagram more often. These algorithms, which give you information that it just thinks you want to see, conditions our brain to seek constant, instant novelty. And while this decreases our attention span, it also decreases our ability to sustain focus for long periods of time. Short form content is massively rising, and that is causing the brain to be primed for short bursts of novel information. Quick hit content trains the brain for these short bursts of stimuli and these short bursts of dopamine. And this is why it is so easy to doom scroll. It's that potato chip model. It's just too easy to swipe up and see something completely new in front of your face. And aside from the decreased attention span, what this does is it reinforces an increasingly narrow worldview. Our devices are quite literally our entire worlds in front of us. Your whole world, you are the only person that has everything in your phone. Your phone is a world specifically constructed around you. And when we are constantly fed hyper personalized content, not only does it have possess the danger of putting us in basically an echo chamber or reinforcing our narrow worldview, it gives us the impression that the whole world is about us. Because if you think about it, your phone is your whole world in a lot of ways and for a lot of people, and therefore your whole world revolves around you. What's the solution here? Do we just ditch all of our technology and go live in cabins and farms? And maybe that is a good place to start, but it's also a very impractical approach to this. And there are many books out there that advocate for ditching as much as you can, as fast as you can, deleting all of your social media and reverting to a pre-digital age. Now, I personally do not subscribe to this, and I do not believe that regressing 500 years of innovation is in anyone's best interest. It may be a nice way to escape technology, but having a more balanced and mindful approach moving forward will better serve everybody. Tech has become deeply integrated into our society and has fundamentally changed how we work, how we learn, and how we communicate with each other. And total abstinence is not only impractical, but it disadvantages us. So, what can you do to combat these engineered addictions? The first step is awareness, bringing our attention to the fact that our phones are designed to keep us addicted and that we have the choice. You have the power to determine how you interact with your phone, with your computer, with your TV. You are in control. So, here are four practical ways that you can improve your relationship with technology. Number one, set boundaries. Set time boundaries and space boundaries. Determine when and where you are going to use technology and when and where that is off limits. Maybe that looks like you're only going to be accessible to work during your work hours and setting that time boundary. Or if you work from home, or if you're an entrepreneur like me, where you're basically working all the time, you can choose spaces that you are going to be tech free or unavailable. For example, I do not use work technology specifically in my bedroom or when I'm at the gym. Number two, Manage your notifications, turn them off, use do not disturb, use an app like Brick, or I think there's plenty of apps out there that can help manage your screen time, but turn off notifications and manage them. These constant interruptions serve one purpose, and that's to get you to open your phone and to open their app. Number three, practice intentional tech use. When you go to reach for your phone or when you pick up the remote to turn on the TV, ask yourself, why are you using this? Are you using this piece of technology to soothe you, or are you using it to serve a purpose? And lastly, replace tech use with real life activities. Go outside, pick up a hobby, spend some time with a loved one, swap a scroll for a stroll. There is research out there that indicates that doing these things, that getting in the real world, especially going outside, has immediate impact on your sense of overall well being. The key is to use technology to support your life, not replace it or not be a substitute for living. Modern technology can enhance our productivity in unimaginable ways. AI alone has completely revolutionized the workplace, but it will never or it cannot be a proxy for human experience. Your life is not in your phone. It is out here in the real world if you just choose to look up. The point is not to become a Luddite, but to use technology in a mindful way. We have to understand that this is all very new. The rise in technology has been exponential, and what we've seen accomplished in just the last few years is far beyond what I think we're able to comprehend right now. We're all experiencing a grand social experiment in real time. So give yourself grace to figure it out. But it is important to have these conversations so that we do not reach a Wall-E dystopian society. If you enjoyed this discussion, if you like having conversations about technology and sociology, I invite you to check out my Substack publication called Look Up, which is all about reclaiming presence in our digitally driven world. You can also pre-order my book, Techquilibrium, on my website, which I will link below. All pre-orders will receive a signed copy, so that's fun. And I do offer one-on-one coaching to combat tech addiction and to find a happier, healthier life each and every day. Technology can be a powerful tool, and by understanding our devices and the forces at play, we can begin taking proactive steps to regain our control and give ourselves a sense of techquilibrium, where technology serves you and not the other way around. Before you go, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what your favorite part of this video was in the comments. Send this to everybody that you know, and thanks for watching.